through the work week.
Engaging the community since 1970. This is WIS Awareness.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome to Awareness. I'm your host, Leland Pender. In the Low Country recently, an uptick in violence in North Charleston had some local leaders fed up, as they described it. This summer, the National Action Network called for North Charleston's police chief to resign, claiming he, along with the city's mayor, ignore the black community. They felt resources and community programs are not in place to deter violent behavior and crime, or they say those programs are scarce, rather, especially in communities where the risk for involvement in these kinds of behaviors is greater. Here's a portion of Mayor Keith Summey's response issued on the city's Facebook page.
The problem is we can't raise your children. It is your responsibility to raise your children.
A few examples he gave there were the city's Parks and Recreation Department, as well as the police department and programs they have involving SROs later in that statement. And he said if people really looked, they would actually be shocked by what's available. But then he went on to make the comment you just heard there, saying essentially the government can't raise your children. So we're not getting hyper-local on North Charleston this morning, but that is a jumping off point for today's conversation. And that is a conversation that could be had in any community around our state, even the country. So this morning, to kind of unpack that statement and get some reaction and thoughts, I'm joined by Bruce Davis, a high school or a middle school counselor, rather, as well as Bernadette Hampton, the president of the South Carolina Educators Association. And Rose Rock is with us. She's a very active parenting and education advocate and also mother of comedian Chris Rock. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so listening to the mayor's statements there in North Charleston, let's start there. We'll just go down the line here. What do you guys think when you hear that? He says the government cannot raise your children.
Well, personally, the government can't raise your children, but the government can provide resources in order to help you to expose your kids to other opportunities and to allow your kids to have opportunities that they might normally not have. Mm-hmm. I know personally, growing up in Beaufort, taking advantage of the TRIO programs, Talent Search and Upward Bound program and the Job Training Partnership Act, those kinds of programs were enriching programs. They were educational programs. They have opportunities to expose students to job training, to have you to do job shadowing, to engage and provide mentorship through the workers that you came in contact with through those programs. So those kind of programs really benefited me as a high school student as well as other kids within my community. So the government can't raise your children, but they can provide the resources in order to help you to expose your kids.
So, Bruce, what do you think? Do you think maybe the mayor came from a really good place but maybe chose the wrong words? You know, some might think that's a reality. Some might say it's a misconception.
I wouldn't necessarily pass judgment whether they came from good intentions or bad intentions, but I know personally I took offense. And I can see how the residents of North Charleston would also take offense for the simple fact that the mayor is coming from a very narrow mindset, not considering all the factors that play to affect whether a parent is able to provide their child with access to the resources. When he was saying that the government can't raise your children, I disagree, because to me it takes a village to raise a child, and the government is included in that village. Our government is meant to provide social welfare, and welfare in part is meant to provide resources to those who don't necessarily have the means to access those resources. The issue is not access, is availability. The availability of parents to provide transportation, financial means to be enrolled into these programs. So taking all those things into consideration, I think the mayor, if he did come from a good place, he could have worded it differently.
What are your thoughts, Ms. Rock, on that statement?
You know, I'm always, my thing is, maybe you don't agree with what he said, But what he said is correct. The raising children, it all starts at home. And I understand that there are a lot of parents that don't have parenting skills. But still, it all begins in the home. And we need to reach out to the parents that don't know where these resources are. And, you know, some people just aren't aware, and some parents just, I don't have the word, just aren't able to parent. But what he said, no, we're responsible for raising our own children. We are definitely, responsibility stops with the parent. But yes, we have to have access to programs, and we have to be fully engaged with our children. As a parent, you have to be fully engaged. And the young man just talked about a village. That is the breakdown of everything, because when a parent wasn't there, there was always someone else to take up the slack. And it's about time that we start rebuilding that village, because that's where our children, you know, fall through the cracks. Because they don't have access to a lot of resources, because they don't have that parent that's behind them. But that's where the neighborhood used to come in. That's where the teachers came in. That's where your church came in.
On that note, I want to play one more quick soundbite from the mayor, if we can pull that up.
We've got to come back to the fact that we are a family, we are a community, and we are citizens that have to work together. But each group has to take that responsibility and not shove it on the back of government. It has to be an acceptance of responsibility by all people on all sides.
Well, I agree, and it goes back to what Mr. Davis said earlier about it takes a village to raise the children, and the school has a responsibility, the parents have a responsibility, educators have a responsibility, but again, it goes back to whether or not the opportunities are there for students to take advantage of the resources and to have those experiences that we need in order to ensure that they become productive citizens within our communities.
Okay, well listen, after the break, some of those resources and initiatives out there, what is available? We're going to talk to some local law enforcement and see what they have to say.
If you've received a mesothelioma diagnosis or a loved one died from this cancer, call Simmons, Hanley, Conroy today. Asbestos exposure causes mesothelioma. Many workers were harmed because companies hid the dangers of asbestos. Today, trusts hold billions of dollars to pay mesothelioma victims and families, and you may be able to get some of this money.
Call Simmons, Hanley, Conroy for a free legal consultation. 1-800-568-6214. 1-800-568-6214. I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
Nick Bolton here with the new Tac Light Lantern from Bell & Howell. The Tac Light Lantern collapses down smaller than a smartphone and weighs less than a pound. But don't let its small size fool you. It's twice as bright as an ordinary lantern. Plus, this lantern is built like a tank. It's heat resistant, works submerged in water, and can survive even the coldest conditions.
Act now, and through this special TV offer, you can get the Bell & Howell Tac Light Lantern for just $19.99 plus free shipping.
The perfect complement to a family lifestyle. Discover all that makes Cobblestone Park Golf Club so impressive. With something for every member of your family and affordable membership options designed to fit every budget. Members enjoy our new nationally recognized clubhouse and superb amenities, including our full tennis complex, swimming pool with bar and grill, fitness center with gymnasium and group fitness classes, and a calendar full of events and activities. Visit CobblestoneParkGolfClub.com to learn more.
Welcome back to Awareness this morning. Right now I'm joined by Stephanie Snowden, Director of Community Initiatives at the Richland County Sheriff's Office. Thanks for being here. And also Lieutenant Vendale McCary with Columbia Police. So this morning, tell us about some of these programs that are available out there for kids if they want to stay busy and stay out of trouble here in our area.
Well, of course, we have summer camps. Our school resource officers run summer camps. We also have a very vigorous youth services division, so folks can just kind of really give us a call. But, you know, when you say children, I think people think that that's very young children. And I think we've all, the city as well as the county, has recognized that you really have to keep young people busy and address their issues at all ages, whether they're very young or whether they're hitting those preteen or teenage years.
Of course, and the earlier the better. But as she just stated, people kind of forget the 15 to 18-year-old group. They're still children. You know, actually, up into 21, they're still growing. So we have to have programs geared and catered toward helping them to develop into good citizens.
So let's pull up some of these pictures if we can this morning. These are from various events and these programs and initiatives that you all offer here in the area. Tell us what we're seeing here.
Okay, what you're seeing is we have a youth services division with about 5 folks in there that's run by a captain. But what you're seeing here, we partnered with the city. We had a number of drownings. So when you saw the water, that was where we were teaching them to swim. That was the sheriff with some of the Muslim community participating in Ramadan with some of the kids. These are the folks from our youth services division. And in this picture in particular is very special in that we have Camp Lot, and these are young people that are having some of the worst problems, getting kicked out of school for nonviolent offenses, being very disobedient at home. And so over the course of like maybe a 3-day or 4-day period, these young people go out to a military installation and receive in-depth training from our youth services division. And with that woman, what you saw were her tears, because afterwards the kids actually form a circle in front of about 30 or 40 people, apologize to that parent for what they have done and talk about how they're going to do better. Awesome. And then we stay with them because, you know, when you talk about programs for youth, one of the things that former President Obama, I guess he will always be president on some level, but he talked about the fact that law enforcement is having to deal with issues that a lot of times the dominant community is not dealing with. Mental health, drug addiction, things like that. We're seeing families being torn apart, and so consequently, probably the city as well as the county are having to develop programs that address the whole family.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, please, chime in.
Well, we offer different programs, too, and similar programs through our school resource officers, as well as the deputy chief. He had a brainchild program a year ago. It's the Youth Ambassadors for Justice program, where it's geared toward high school students. And what happened is the students are selected by the principal and the guidance counselor, and they sit at a round table and they have youth topics. And this is communicating dialogue back and forth in order to find out how they perceive us and how we can work together to gap that bridge together so we can have a better working dialogue, and they'll understand why we do what we do in their community, in their schools, and so forth, and hopefully they'll go on with that and help either younger kids, younger than them, educate them, because we teach them to, you know, just because you're 18, 19, that means you can't begin a leader now. You need to start working on your leadership right now. And this helps kids go a long, long, long way. And I think that's an awesome program that we do. We work in collaboration with the Richland County Sheriff's Department as well as Lexington, Forest Lake. There's no competition. We're all brothers in blue.
Yes, so when it comes to the young people, and I also kind of want to make a point of the fact that we actually have a Healthy Choices seminar, and we have a family, basically a Saturday academy where we're bringing in the parents, we're bringing in the young people. And here in South Carolina and in the nation, we've been one of the first to actually offer, go to Congress and actually talk about the connection between abstinence, the encouragement of abstinence in youth programs, because, you know, when young people are having children too soon, you know, that's impacting them economically. They're more likely to actually wind up having their children being incarcerated. So there just are a lot of issues that I think that our programs are addressing. So it's our Leadership Academy, and all of these things are essentially free. The Sheriff Lot will never turn anyone away.
So it sounds like the opportunities are definitely out there, but some people say, I don't know where to begin, I don't know where to look, or there's not enough programs. How do you address that?
Well, I would say this too, and I employ citizens in the community. I come from the concept of it takes a village to raise a child. My mother was a single parent, and so she depended on the community to assist her when she was at work and I was out in the park or in the communities. If I was getting ready to go down the street I shouldn't go down, there was always somebody to point me in the right direction. My mother didn't throw me a basketball or football. There was somebody of adult or older in that community that did that. And we got to get back to that concept. You know, law enforcement and other government, you know, we can do much as we can do. But we need to get back to, you know, doing for ourselves and the community, along with what we're doing. And I think if we do that, you know, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
So it's a really great partnership that can happen, but it all starts at home and with the community.
It does, but as I alluded to, a lot of times those homes are not as healthy maybe as they should be. So we're having to step in, and it starts. I mean, Sheriff Lott started High Five Fridays last school year, where our deputies are going into the schools and actually greeting the kids in school bus and carpools with high fives, and that helps a child get comfortable with law enforcement. So sometimes we have to do that on the front end of teaching kids that law enforcement is here to keep you safe. But, you know, it does have to be a community partnership.
That's all very important. And thank you guys both for coming on and sharing this morning. Great information. Of course, people want to reach out to you. You guys are online on Twitter and Facebook. You're all over social media.
The sheriff is becoming a tweeting beast.
Well, after the break, a few minutes one-on-one with Rose Rock about the 10 kids that she raised and the book she wrote about it. We'll be right back here on WIS Awareness.
Nick Bolton here with the new Tac Light Lantern from Bell & Howell. The Tac Light Lantern collapses down smaller than a smartphone and weighs less than a pound. But don't let its small size fool you. It's twice as bright as an ordinary lantern. The secret is the genuine Bell & Howell Cobb LEDs that are smaller, brighter, and more energy efficient than regular LEDs. They make our Tac Light Lantern so bright it can fill an entire room with light and visible up to 2 nautical miles away. Plus, this lantern is built like a tank. It's heat resistant, works submerged in water, and can survive even the coldest conditions.
Act now, and through this special TV offer, you can get the Bell & Howell Tac Light Lantern for just $19.99 plus free shipping. But that's not all. Order today and we'll also upgrade you to our Deluxe Tac Light Lantern with magnetic base, absolutely free. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-318-6842 or go to taclightlantern.com.
WIS loves to share stories of people making a difference. People who help work to build a better community. If you know someone who should be highlighted as a community builder, nominate them at WISTV.com/builder.
Community Builder is presented in partnership with Mungo Home.
Car wreck?
Don't scream, call a king.
We got a $400,000 settlement when our client was hit by a sleepy driver. We got an $800,000 settlement when someone ran a red light.
Call all twos now.
To get your attorney, dial all twos.
If you don't have life insurance, a final expense insurance plan pays cash to your family for final and all other expenses. If you're unable to purchase life insurance due to a pre-existing or current medical condition, call right now for information and a free consultation. Rates will never increase, the policy cannot be canceled, and there are no restrictions on how your beneficiaries can use the money.
Call 1-800-304-7014, 1-800-304-7014.
Welcome back. Right now I'm joined by Rose Rock, mother of comedian Chris Rock, who we all know. And Miss Rock, you've literally written the book on how to raise good kids. Chris is far from your only child and most successful. So here it is, 10 lessons for raising a house full of successful children. Tell us, what are those 10 lessons?
A lot of love and a lot of rules. I think number one was, I'm your mama, not your friend. Because that's one of the things that parents do. They want their children to like them, so they buy stuff. And they don't need stuff. They need you. They need undivided attention, and they need rules. So I've never wanted to be friends with my children.
And so how is that, looking at them as kids, and today you see those things worked, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's accountability and responsibility. They have to be held accountable. There are consequences, good or bad, for everything you do. That's life. So the rules, one of the things about rules is that rules follow you throughout your entire life. So if there are no rules at home, you go to school, you don't know how to sit, you don't know how to wait your turn, you don't know how to listen. That complicates the learning process. You go on a job, if you have not been taught to be held accountable, then everything that goes wrong, you blame the boss, that old boss, or this person. It's never you. So those are key elements in raising children, and it starts very, very early.
So in your household, you said you have 4 birth children, 3 given children. Kids that just...
No, I have 7 birth children.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
6 boys and 1 girl. 3 given children. Given children are children that show up at your house and never leave.
Okay. So like 10 kids altogether.
I raised 10 kids.
Okay, so I'm sure somewhere down the line, someone caused you a headache at some point.
Oh, they all cause you headaches.
So how do you deal with that, even with the best intentions and best parenting skills?
Because you don't let it get you and you don't take it serious. You know? It's not that serious. Unless they are doing something dire, it's not that serious. And one of the things, because in the book I talk about the fact that children need to know at all times what they're supposed to be doing. If a child knows exactly what's expected of them, then they don't have all of that time to, you come home, you put your books down, you have your snack, you're not allowed to watch TV, you start your homework, whatever. When kids know these things, it's easier. One of the subjects, the topics, no child really wants to be left alone. And have you ever seen, and I don't know who thought this is a good idea, that people a few years ago, about, I guess 10 years ago, started dropping their kids at the mall. Just drop them at the mall. And so they're there all afternoon milling around. Well, at a certain time, kids are answering their phones because a parent is calling saying, you know, I'm going to pick you up at the left gate, or I'm going to pick you up, or it's time to come home. Then there's that group that nobody calls, and they start badgering the other kids, well, you got a curfew, da-da-da-da-da. But when everybody goes home, look at the kids, look at the face of the children left behind. Because nobody cared enough to say, you've got to be home at 9 o'clock, or I'm coming to pick you up. No child wants to be left alone. Every child wants somebody to care enough to have rules and regulations.
If there are some parents out there right now, you know, well, all parents, of course, want to see positive change in their kids and growth over time. But if someone wants to make some changes right now, like in their household, in their kids' behavior, what's something they can do? What's your advice?
Have a come to Jesus meeting first. Sit down and say, this is what's going to happen. This is what's been happening. It depends on the age. Because I have so many parents that'll come to me and say, my child is 14. And I said, well, you're 12 years late. Because this stuff starts you start picking up your toys at 18 months and 2 years. You're responsible for the house because we all live here. Those kind of things is what teaches responsibility. But if you're going to start to execute change and you sit down and you explain, talk, these are people you're talking to. They're little people or bigger people, but they're people and they deserve the respect of being told, these are the changes we're going to make in this house. This is what I expect of you. And this is what's going to happen when you don't meet my expectations. And don't threaten. Whatever you say you're going to do, do.
Follow through. All
You
right.
follow through.
Thank you so much, Miss Rock. The book is Mama Rock's Rules, 10 Lessons for Raising a House Full of Successful Children. Right back here on Awareness with a final thought.
This spring, pick your power. Steel fuel-powered equipment is the #1 selling brand in America. And the Steel Lightning battery system delivers the power to do more on a single charge. Right now, you can pick fuel or battery at a great price, with trimmers starting at just $129.95. Or choose one of our popular easy-to-use blowers, starting at just $139.95. Pick your power, then pick up a Steel. Visit SteelDealers.com.
If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or any other asbestos-related cancer, call now. Asbestos manufacturers sold deadly asbestos materials to thousands of companies, putting workers at risk. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be entitled to a portion of these funds and receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or ever going to court.
For your free legal consultation, call 1-800-214-5036. That's 1-800-214-5036. I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
When you buy fresh fruits and vegetables from local markets throughout South Carolina, you'll build healthy eating habits that'll last a lifetime. Mealtime becomes a time that brings families together in a positive way. A family that shares its life together thrives. So give it a try. Shop at South Carolina vendors for your fresh fruits and vegetables and make a healthy change for the whole family. Fuel up. Buy the freshest fruits and vegetables from a local market near you.
Recent medical studies have shown that the use of talcum powder can cause ovarian cancer. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with ovarian cancer after using talcum powder, call right now. You may be owed significant compensation from the manufacturer. Call right now to determine if you may qualify. If we don't win, there is no fee. There are time deadlines to file a claim, so don't wait.
Call right now. Call 1-800-296-3932. Again, that's 1-800-296-3932.
All right, welcome back to Awareness. Bernadette, in your role as president of the Educators Association here in South Carolina, y'all are fighting for a lot and advocating right now. What are you fighting for and why?
We're advocating for programs such as we mentioned earlier that benefit students, especially in the rural areas, but benefit students in general when it comes to the after-school programs, the college and career, technical education grants, arts and education, professional development for educators. Those initiatives now are on the chopping block in the current administration budget. So we are advocating for those kinds of resources that really benefit our students, that help us to address the challenges that we are facing with students in the communities in order to make sure that those programs remain intact.
Yeah, that's all a part of, I guess, some of the issues some people have. These programs that are in place, some are being threatened to go away. So that's something that you all are researching and looking into. And thank you all for being here and sharing your thoughts on this topic of parenting and raising good kids. And thank you for joining us this morning on Awareness. We'll see you back here next Sunday.